Hi, this is Katie. I'm one of the lecturers for the Design Thinking for Social Innovation course. Welcome to week 4. What we are going to do today is review design research synthesis and add another tool to that process. And then we're going to talk about ideation and idea selection. So, just as a reminder, these are the kind of 5 hexagons of the main phases of design thinking. Um, Again, this process is not linear, it's not prescriptive, but as we're beginning, I think it's really helpful to name these different phases that we're kind of moving through. As you get more practice and get more experience, you may move back and forth in the process based on what you're learning. So it's not a single recipe, but we're starting in that way because you're learning. So we're going to review the define phase. And if you'll remember, defining is about reframing the problem and uncovering new opportunities. And you do that through your design research synthesis. So, what you did last week was you conducted an interview with a stakeholder based on the problem that you're working to solve. And then you tried to do some sense making and inference about why what you heard mattered to that person. Um, so that sense making, right, is that rigorous process of getting to a deeper understanding of the person that you're empathizing with, of their needs, of what is important and what matters to them. So in design research synthesis, you're looking for what are the patterns and themes that emerge, what are the most interesting problems to solve or needs to address. And you do that by moving from observation. So, what's some piece of evidence from your qualitative data to an insight, which is a guess about why something matters to the person, what is motivating them. And you do that by inferring the meaning. And we bring that all together in a point of view statement. And a strong point of view statement, again, will highlight a specific person. And the reason for that is that by keeping this grounded in real people and real people's experiences, we find that you get more creative energy. So sometimes in like marketing and advertising, you come up with a persona, right? Which is kind of amalgamation of a bunch of people in a demographic group. So you end up with something like, a 45-year-old father of 3 who lives in the suburbs and drives a minivan, right? That person is more likely to enjoy classic rock and hamburgers and pizza or whatever the kind of data said, the kind of average of the data says. But you're getting an average there. You're not getting the depth and emotion and interesting nature of real people, right? Every father of 2 in that data set that creates the persona has his or their own story, right? And what makes them special and unique and what makes their perspective unique. And so we don't want to lose that. So that's why we want to highlight a specific person. Then an excellent point of view statement will preserve the genuine emotions of that person, will have a logical structure. So when you read through, it will make sense. You can kind of read it and it will sound like a story. Contains interesting and surprising inference and feels generative. So it's not kind of landing you on one solution possible, but trying to expand into multiple different possibilities. So from there, now we're on to week 4, and the first thing you're going to do is move from a point of view statement to how might we questions. How might we questions are a way to redefine the problem into an area of opportunity. So we go from kind of a need statement or a problem statement into an opportunity statement. And we do that to create a human-centered way to solve a problem, to create a statement that brings energy and inspiration to the problem, and to create specific statements that help a team generate ideas and solutions. So this kind of rallies you around What is the opportunity, and how can we generate lots of ideas based on that opportunity? So we use a very specific formula. So how might we? Um, and then we include a verb that implies change. So that could be increase, decrease, encourage, incentivize, help, support. And then the user and the opportunity that we have. And we use the words how might we because um, how kind of opens up the space. So it's not what we're going to do, but it's how, right? There's multiple different ways. Might makes this kind of a light touch, right? It's not like you should do this or we will do this. It's like we might do this, makes it softer. And then we is about kind of bringing people along to work on this problem together and not just as a single person. It's a little different in this project because you're working independently, but a lot of times we would prefer that people are working on a team. So what you'll notice on the framework is that there's kind of a overarching how might we statement, kind of the big main how might we statement. And then what I've found to be really helpful for generating ideas is to come up with different related how might we questions that have different kind of angles into the problem. And so I'll show you some examples. These are all kind of the angles in. So amp up the good. What is happening that's positive already that we want to amplify, right? So when you're flying, there are rewards programs. So how might we make flying more rewarding literally? Like how might we bring the kind of symbolic miles into the real life? Focus on emotions. So how might we make airport security less stressful? Take it to an extreme. So kind of push out into this like way out of the box thinking. How might we make hauling luggage the best part of the experience of flying? Explore the opposite. How might we slow down the process of security to a relaxing pace? So in this case, we assume that you want to get through security as quickly as possible, but how might we instead slow it down and make it really the best part of the process? Questioning an assumption. How might we eliminate baggage altogether? Right, we might assume, oh, if you're traveling somewhere, you have to have luggage. But what if we question that assumption? And it's funny, I've kind of used this as an example for a while, and I would sometimes say, like, you could rent your clothes at your hotel, and then this year, Japanese Airlines has done that. So that idea came into the world. It's not they didn't get it from me, but it's really interesting to see that happen. Um, Creating an analogy. So analogies can be incredibly powerful for helping us to get inspiration about a problem and bring a new kind of thinking to it. So in this case, how might we create an airport experience that feels like a trip to the spa? So we know that going to the spa is relaxing, it's rejuvenating. We know that for most people, going to the airport is not those things. And so, how could we bring elements of the spa experience into the airport to make it more relaxing? And you can think of many, many different analogies to bring into the problem. If you're thinking about how to bring people together, to have fun, maybe you would use summer camp as an analogy. Or if you're trying to convey information quickly to people, maybe you would use IKEA instructions. So there's lots of different ways to kind of bring in those different analogies. You might focus on an element. So, how might we help travelers visualize the mileage points they are earning on each trip? So, you're focusing on mileage, and then you're thinking about, like, how can I enhance that? And then creating joy. So we know joy is a positive experience. It means that you're having a good time. So, how might we treat every traveler like a celebrity on the red carpet? And assuming that that would make people feel joyful to be celebrated. Okay, so with how might we questions, it's a little bit of a Goldilocks situation, right? You don't want something to be so broad that it's like not inspiring. And we come across those kinds of problems all the time. How might we create world peace? It's like, well, I don't know. You tell me. Like that's such a big problem. I'm not sure how to come up with solutions for that. Um, and if you're too narrow, if you have a solution embedded in your question, you're not going to be able to generate lots of ideas. So if you're in a case where something is your how might we question is too broad, you can ask yourself, what's stopping us from doing this? What's stopping this from being a reality? So what's stopping us from achieving world peace? And that will help you get down a layer into a space that's a little bit more manageable. So in this case, how might we make air travel better? Well, it's like, I don't know. There's so many ways to do that. But if you ask yourself, well, what's stopping us from improving? Well, security is really stressful. Carrying all the luggage is really annoying. And then that helps you to get to how might we make airport security less stressful? How might we slow down the process of security to a relaxing pace? How might we eliminate baggage altogether? How might we make hauling luggage the best part of the experience of flying? And then if something's too narrow, you can ask, why would we want to? Why would we want to do this? So, how might we create a system where passengers can earn mileage points for cleaning the lavatory? So that how might we is so narrow, it's basically a solution, right? So we would ask, why would we want to? And you might answer, because bathrooms on airplanes are nasty, or there's no way to earn good credit anymore. So then that would lead to how might we keep airplane bathrooms cleaner? How might we give passengers a cleaner flying experience? How might we make flying more rewarding literally? How might we help travelers visualize the mileage points they're earning on each trip? Um, so that helps you again kind of get out of the solution and into a more open space. An excellent how might we question will include a transformational verb, include a user group or a system, approach generating solutions from lots of different and creative angles, and be just right in scope, not too big and not too small. Okay, so then the how might we question is going to set you up to start to generate ideas, and that's the ideate phase. Um, and in ideation, we're trying to focus on generating ideas, not evaluating ideas. And we're also trying to let go of constraints to get to new possibilities. So I like to use this quote from Linus Pauling, famous Oregonian, who said, the best way to get to a good idea is to get to a lot of ideas. And part of that, right, is that often the first things we think of are things that have been done before, that we've tried before. And if we get those out of the way and we can start to build on our ideas, it will help us to expand our thinking and get into more and more creative spaces. So there's some rules for brainstorming to help you to get into that generative place. So one is deferring judgment. Um, in a group, you would want to be sure that you're not shooting down each other's ideas, not saying no, no, no. But also for yourself independently, sometimes we have that little voice in our head that says, that's a bad idea. And we want to ignore that voice and we want to get all those ideas out. And maybe some of the ideas are not great, but they might spark a better idea. So don't judge every idea that you think of, just put them down and try and get as many as possible. Go for quantity. Be visual. So on the mural board, use icons, use pictures, like you bring in other imagery that might help continue to spark new ideas in your brain. Headline. So we write on post-its in real life. In the mural board, you can use the small post-its. You don't want to write a bunch about your idea. You just want to write down a little bit, a quick headline, and then go for the next idea. Because again, at the beginning, you're trying to generate a volume of ideas. And then at the end, you're going to select one and start to develop it more. You want to encourage yourself to think of wild ideas, right? So, what if we have a cheese party on the moon? Um, that may not be feasible to send everyone to the moon, but by saying that wild idea, maybe then you can build on it to think of a new possibility, right? Well, what if we had a lunar themed cheese party, right? Or what if we had a picnic um, out in a rocky place like the surface of the moon? So you can begin to kind of draw elements out of that crazy idea that's not feasible. So again, in real life, we use a Sharpie marker and Post-its, and that allows you and your teammates to see your ideas as you're putting them up, to reference them and think of new ideas to build on, and then at the end to move them around and sort them. And that's part of why I like Mural so much, is that that can approximate a similar scenario in that virtual space. A good brainstorm is a lot like popping popcorn. Um, if you've ever done that in the microwave, right? You put the bag in, you start the microwave, it starts to pop. It's a little slow. There's not a lot of kernels, and then all of a sudden, more and more kernels are popping, and you're really getting up to speed. And then the popping starts to slow down, and you want to stop the microwave and get the popcorn out before you burn the popcorn. So that's a lot like brainstorming. It's going to take you a minute to warm up, and then you're going to have lots of ideas coming, and then you might fade. And at some point, then you want to close the question and move on to the next one. You'll see in the mural board, there are also little creative inspiration prompts, and that can help us to start to generate ideas again, right? So maybe we're fizzling on our ideation, and then we think, oh, what if I draw inspiration from an emergency room doctor or from a football coach? And then that can help us to start to brainstorm again.